This is the Texas weather discussion video for Thursday, the 7th day of September. North Texas is getting a true taste of fall here for the next week or so. And how are the tropics looking? How's Irma looking? Things are actually very, very active in the Atlantic. But first, let's take a look at the water vapor satellite view across the CONUS region. Getting a broad overview of things. A deep amplitude trough in the northeast is actually helping to aid in the cooler weather here. Here are the temperatures as of 5:06 a.m. and wow, these are just remarkable. Arlington 53, DFW 66, Burleson 51, even Glen Rose is even in the 40s in some spots. Wow. This is safe to say that this is actually anomalous. Here's the temperature anomalies in fact, and we're actually, in terms of the low, we're actually 10 to 14 degrees below average for this time of the year. Wow. And I think today we should expect to warm to the mid 80s for most locations. Still a very sunny and pleasant day in store for us. Check the convective outlooks here. Only a marginal risk for parts of the west. Other than that, things are pretty quiet across the CONUS region. Here's the rainfall output for the next 7 days, followed through Thursday morning of next week, and you can see where the bullseye numbers are in relation to Hurricane Irma here. Mostly in eastern and southern Florida, near the adjacent coastlines here. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. But here is a broad brush overview of things. We now have 3 hurricanes on the board now. This is the first time this has ever happened since 2010. So the tropics are, of course, very, very active right now. Here's Hurricane Katia. More than likely, this will not affect Brownsville, Texas, or any parts of the Gulf of Mexico at all. And this will just enter Mexico and then cross out into the Pacific. This is expected to stay a hurricane at landfall before weakening to a depression by Sunday morning. But we won't have to worry about that because that won't make landfall here. So here's Hurricane Jose now. Wow, I keep saying tropical, but now all these are hurricanes. Kind of funny here. But here's Hurricane Jose. Maximum sustained winds are actually at 90 miles an hour. This is actually expected to become a major hurricane within the next 48 hours or so. And of course, with models, here's the model guidance. More than likely, this will get to a point in the Atlantic, and then just the steering currents will just fall, and this will just continue to just churn basically over open water here. This will continue to churn basically over open water, not having any impacts basically on land once it gets out of the northern Leeward Islands at this point. But here is Hurricane Jose. Here's Hurricane Irma. I mean, how's Irma been doing? Well, nothing really has changed. Maximum sustained winds are still at 185 miles an hour. This is actually the strongest hurricane to actually maintain its intensity for this long. This is actually the first hurricane to maintain its intensity this long. You can see all the hurricane warnings and watches and all the advisories going out. And I think as soon as today, a hurricane watch may be issued for South Florida or the Florida coast at this point. But by Sunday, this is expected to make a hard right turn, either affecting the coast of Florida or southern Florida directly. But the bottom line is, those of you that are in southern Florida or anywhere in Florida other than the Florida Panhandle needs to have their hurricane preparations, needs to be doing their hurricane preparations basically now. And here's the intensity. Here's the model guidance once again, and you can see the hard right turn that Irma will make. And the question is, will this stay to the east of South Florida, or will this basically go in, make landfall out South Florida? Basically, those questions are remain to be asked right now. But here's the GFS ensemble. This one has 21 members, and and the models are starting to agree on this solution. The mean actually has this skirt the coast of Florida before making landfall in South Carolina, and then ultimately turning to the northeast. But the bottom line is, I mean, I'll show you the European and the GFS together here in a minute. But the bottom line is, those of you that are in basically southern Florida, the Florida coast, Georgia, and the Carolinas need to be making preparations for a potentially major hurricane to come through their way. Landfall or not, this is still going to be a potentially very dangerous and life-threatening situation. So let's go to the dailies. This is the GFS. This is the 06Z run valid today at 1 o'clock. At 500 millibars, a low amplitude trough in the north. That's helped keeping us cool, and of course we're left dry again with highs in the mid 80s. This is tomorrow on Friday. Again, nothing really changes. Highs really in the low to mid 80s. Just a very nice day for high school football games, and also college football games on Saturday. This is Saturday. Of course, we're still dry, sunny and nice with highs in the mid to upper 80s. But this is Sunday, and this is Sunday, and the GFS has Irma to the east of the Florida coast, basically skirting the Florida coast. And the pressure numbers, I don't believe, like we've been over this before, I don't believe for a second. I think that's too low. This should definitely be a weaker hurricane by the time it makes landfall, but it's still going to be very major and very dangerous though. But this is Monday afternoon, past afternoon, and this model shows that this hurricane will basically make landfall by Savannah, Georgia, at this point. And the remnant circulation by Tuesday is basically somewhere in Kentucky, but between Tennessee and Kentucky at this point. But let's go to the European models. This is the OZ models, since we can't get the 06Z run at this point yet. But basically Hurricane Irma on this model is actually skirting the Florida coast on Sunday, basically Sunday evening, and this is Monday evening, making landfall near Savannah, and the remnant circulation by Tuesday evening is basically somewhere in Tennessee and Kentucky. So the models are continuing to show good agreement with the solution that the coast of Florida, mainly South Florida, and mainly the areas along the coastline, will see a major hurricane come their way. So those of you that are in Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville, Daytona Beach, Miami, Orlando, Jacksonville, Brunswick, Georgia, South Carolina, potentially even North Carolina, and those adjacent areas, you need to be going through your preparations for a major hurricane to come through your way. In fact, you should have began those about 2 days ago at this point. But here's the end of the forecast period. This is Saturday, September 16th. Heights are actually starting to come up for our area. And again, a nice pleasant day, abundant sunshine with highs in the low 90s. But hey, the temperatures for this are basically, the temperature for the next 7 days, basically no 90s for this part of the week. And for the lows, we expect to be in the mid to upper 60s for basically all of this week. That's it for the Texas weather discussion video for today. More notes in the blog. Next video here by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. If you can, catch your local TV stations on the air at 4, 5, 6, and 10 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Make it a great day, and Godspeed.